JB here, JB here. Testing, testing. There we go. JB here, JB here. Hope everyone's doing outstanding. July 24th, 2024. We have about 33 minutes to open. Markets are looking to open to the downside. S&P futures are down nearly 1% right now. NASDAQ futures down 1.5%. The small caps, which rallied yesterday despite the pullback in the major indexes, are down about 0.7%. A lot of that has to do with the earnings. Google, Tesla, Visa, some other names reported after the close yesterday. Google actually posted a great quarter, but there's concerns around growth. I guess, not as exciting a quarter as folks are accustomed to with Google. And then you have some big comps coming up in quarter three, the next couple earnings for Google. And I think it was their slowest top line growth increase in 5 years, like their slowest growth in 5 years. So is this the top for Google? I don't, but the stock was rallying in the after hours and then gave back all those gains. And I guess maybe folks wanted to hear a little more about AI. And then you have Tesla. Same thing with Tesla. Tesla actually surprised with top line growth, and some of that was outside their core business with solar and energy. And then you have the backdrop now of the robots, right? And the autonomous taxis. So I mean, there's a lot that goes with Tesla now, and it's funny. You read folks talking about Tesla now. I mean, 10 years ago, people used to say it's a car company. I'm like, it's not a car company; it's a technology company, right? And then all the bears would say it's a car company. It's a car company. Now the bears say it's not a car company, but the valuations for all these other possible tailwinds for Tesla and growth areas is overpriced, right? The valuation for the car company is only a couple hundred billion, while the rest of this is the robots and the taxis and all that is being priced in way too much. So it's kind of funny how that the narrative just keeps switching, right? They just change the narrative just to fit their bear case on Tesla. Whatever. Needs to say the stock is down here in the pre-market. Definitely not trading those two, though I always watch that. And then last was Visa. And Visa also lackluster quarter, missed on revenue. And the CEO actually said, nothing too concerning, but I guess it wasn't enough. So hopefully it's not the start of things to come with the earnings season. It seemed like last week earnings kicked off pretty well. So we'll find out a lot more in the coming days. After the close today, IBM, Chipotle, and then names, of course, VKTX, Align, which I'm looking possibly to get some strikes here this morning. So it should be exciting. I talked about it on the watch list and on the rants yesterday. 554 and 551 on the SPY. Those were kind of my areas, and we closed at 553.78. That last 30-minute pullback on the SPY, which was very very annoying, especially watching a lot of the stocks I'm in hanging in there or in the green, and then just give back all those gains into the end of the day. And then this morning we're gapping well under that. We're at 548.61 here in the SPY. So would love to see that 551 area recouped. Otherwise, I fear 541 is coming next, regardless of any other the earnings or we get GDP data tomorrow morning. GDP now estimates 2.7%. It's almost like I don't know if it's too hot of numbers. Is the market going to sell off? Is it too weak of numbers tomorrow? I actually probably weaker is probably better. I think even hotter would be fine because there's a lot of this chatter that we're heading to a recession. Some of the economic data has been weaker than expected. So probably want to see an inline number. And there's 3 reads on the GDP, so we'll get a second read and a final read. So it's not the final number, but that's tomorrow. And then PCE data on Friday. So those will be the next 2 things to watch. And I think GDP and the PCE might be able to move markets a little bit, especially if we are in the midst of polls. So if we can't recoup any kind of losses here today, we're in the red tomorrow. It just probably doesn't paint a picture for a bounce anytime soon. So hopefully get over 551. Good data tomorrow, in line on Friday, or cooler than expected, and we can go from there. And then the small caps. So I posted this. It looks like a bear flag, and you see this consolidation on the IWM. We were back to a divergence, and I don't know if we're going to have that today, but definitely watching small caps. 222 is the big spot there on IWM. So individual names, I did my rant quick on iRobot during the afternoon rant. I'm not going to talk too much about it, but key spot is $12 here. Hopefully it doesn't get pulled down too much with the rest of the market in sympathy with the small cap sell-off. I think once it's over 12 and holds that, then 15s come pretty quickly. I mentioned it. The CEO is relatively new, just came on in the winter, and then he did an insider purchase back in May, a couple thousand shares. I think it was 12.38 was the price. Would not be surprised to see more insider buys. They also report their earnings. I believe it's next week, or is it the 8th? August 7th. So 2 weeks they'll report earnings. Added some more strikes yesterday. Not going to add anything more just yet, but hopefully it can trade higher regardless what the market here does. You pull it further out, and there's lots of gaps into the 20s. 20 would be a big spot, and maybe it's a name that could get some FOMO. Kind of been left for dead. A lot of it's the concern around the debt with Carlisle, so on and so forth. So that's iRobot. CGC was trading at highs, right at about 245, 865 it hit, and then it sold off with the rest of the market. It was 850 at about 330, and then that's when when the sell button was hit on the market, and CGC went from 850 all the way down to close at 820, and it's down here at 812. 767 or so is the 50-day moving average, so I want to see that hold. I'm not going to add anything more just yet on that. Turn actually looked pretty good yesterday at, I think it was 9 and change as well. At 3:30 it was hitting highs at 918, closed at 897. You have that 5.1 stake by Citadel, Kenneth Griffin. I think it only bodes well for a setup here back to 10 in the coming days. Hopefully similar to iRobot, it can hold some gains here with the small cap selling off this morning. Sherman-Williams, I was looking at the end of the day to add some strikes. The 370s look interesting. It's getting some crazy upgrades this morning. I don't know. So JP Morgan up to 360 from 315. Bard 325 from 310. Goldman Sachs 390 from 340. KeyBank 410. Barclays 355. So if it shows some strength here in the pre, after the bell, I may look to get some 370s depending on what those premiums look like. They look pretty inexpensive on a risk reward basis yesterday, but I wanted to do a kind of wait and see mode. Square just disappointing. You have the death cross coming, so that's when the 50-day moving average crosses under the 200-day moving average. Probably going to need the catalyst, its earnings. So I'm just hoping it can hold the line here, 65, 66, if not bounce, and then get the earnings, and that could be the next catalyst for upside. A line I talked about the last couple sessions. I was looking for strikes at the end of the day yesterday. I'm going to grab something today. I mean, 75% probability with the prospect of watching the premiums creep up into the end of the day, locks them in to cover costs or close them all out. If I lock them in to cover costs, I'll just ride the rest into the earnings. It has historically large moves after its earnings, 10, 15, 20%. I think the implied move right now is 12%. So I kind of like that as almost like a spec lotto, because I do think if there's a strong beat and raise, it trades well into the 300s. They've been doing accelerated stock buyback purchases for almost a decade now. So the outstanding share count has been decreased. I don't know the exact valuation, but it's billions of dollars of shares have been retired and bought back and retired. I think this trade's higher, but I don't have enough conviction to buy some spec lottos and hold on to them, only to watch them go bidless the next day. So my plan would be to do the premium builds. Roku will announce earnings a week from tomorrow. It's gapping down here at the 60 handle. Hit that on Monday. Kind of frustrating. I think some of it has to do with Google. So some of the Google didn't excite with their ad business, I guess. So any name that really has any kind of tie to advertising is taking a little beating here in the pre-market. Take a look at a stock like TTD, Roku. So some of those names just hurt. And so hopefully it can hold 60 and bounce. That's that. I already talked about Square. I'm trying to think of some of the other names here. Gold's up in the pre-market here. When I say pre-market, it trades 24/7. So let's see where it's at. Was it 1420, 2420? Me, I'm still bearish. So let's see what the VIX. The VIX is up about 4%. So hopefully the VIX doesn't get back to the levels it got last week. We find some kind of support here. The SPY gets over 551, closes there, and we can kind of get some good data tomorrow and Friday and watch this 2-day sell-off off. If not, I get a little concerned. So Lam Research and Broadcom, my two names that I look to get some spec puts on. Did those spec puts on Lam Research last week. Don't be surprised if I grab some today if the market shows weakness. Can't find a bid by 11 o'clock or so. 900s probably would be the trade that I would look for on those. And I think that's it, folks. Let's have a great day. I'll be back on audio later. Rock and roll.